It worked. Okay. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
A little bit of technical issues that we sort of worked through, but you know, it is what it is, and we'll just keep plugging along. So how are you today?
It's been a weird morning. I think the energies, very sensitive to the energies that come in, and the energies in May are just bombarding everything. And but I'm very blessed. Thank you.
So what do you think? What do you think it is? Because I'm also feeling it too, but I've got other things going on that I could easily say is part of it, like computer issues. Is it Mercury retrograde? I don't know.
And I think we are in Mercury retrograde, and there is something going on the 19th that we just came out of an eclipse, and to me, it takes days to get back to normal. So when one thing goes right after another, it takes a long time and plus it's rainy and not sunshiny, and I don't do well without the sunshine. So, it's like you said, I think everything, a whole conglomeration of everything put together. And feeling the energies of what's going on in the world. And when you're very sensitive to these things, you don't have to go anywhere, but you feel it. You feel that energy, and it's very difficult sometimes to find out what's your own and what is other people's. I had to learn techniques to find out what's mine and what's somebody else's.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
So how are you this morning? I know the technical difficulties. It's just...
yeah, and that's not even, it is what it is kind of thing. But I am feeling the energy. I'm feeling the shift and something going on. Yes. And it's almost as if I tap into it a little bit more, it's almost as if something's brewing, yes. B-R-E-W-I-N-G, brewing. And it's underneath, and it's churning. I'm like in it now. So what it is energetically, because there is so much going on right now in the world. I mean, you name it, and it's stirring, it's churning. So I'm gonna call it just being in tune with it and recognizing that it's there, and it's unsettling because it's not calm. And I'm a person that likes calm and peace and flow, and it's not that. It's not that at all. So yeah, I'm feeling it. Maybe we could delve into it maybe a little later, see what happens. But today, what were we going to share about today?
Today, I would like to know more about you. I remember that the first time I ever met you, you came to a channeling class of mine, and then we connected quite a bit after that, but then I left Oregon. And so through the years, we've sort of disconnected a little bit, not ever disconnected, but just sort of got out of contact with each other. And of course, with my health issues, and I didn't know what was going on with you. And so not too long ago, I was here and I got this message. And what I say message is, I know when my guides speak to me, I'm very familiar with the way that they tell me things. So I got this urgency. You need to call Donna and see if she's still channeling and see what's going on in her life. So when I get those messages, I don't question that. And so I picked up the phone and I called you, and here we are. So that's what I know. I would like to know how you got on this path, how you got where we are now. Wherever you want to start, wherever you I would just like to know your journey. I know that anybody's journey, they can choose. They always have choice, so they can choose one or the other when it comes time for a choice. And I know that you have chosen what you have chosen to get you here now. So I would like to hear, I really would like to hear more about you as Donna.
You as Donna. Well, yeah. Let's see. You as Donna. To start, to make a start is like just it was before Donna. How's that? So when I came into this being, into this existence of and all of that has an integral part of what makes me who I am. So briefly, I was born into an Italian Catholic family. So my, kind of like I'm third generation Italian here in the United States. And my grandparents came from Italy. And back in that time frame when Italians were involved in very interesting and provocative business dealings, we'll just say that. And so I come from a lineage that I was kept from. I remember my family members speaking in Italian very close together, very softly. And it was, I don't know why they were speaking in Italian, because they never taught me how. I only knew some of the choice words. So it wasn't like I knew what was going on, except I felt like it was like, do not let anybody hear you say these things. So there was always that lining there. The Catholic Church was very much my home because I am a very spiritual being, and for me, that was a place where I could really be very, very close to, and I'll call it my lineage, my home, my true home. And it wasn't that it was the Catholic Church; it was just people coming there and bringing their faith and bringing in Christ and the angels and all the spiritual beings. And so I felt that, I knew that, I felt that, but there was something off about it that I couldn't figure out. Interesting enough, when I'd sit into church, and by the way, I was probably the only one in my family that went to church, because they all brought me there and left me there, and then they like went other places. It's like, okay, but I would stare at the pulpit and watch the priest in the pulpit, and my gaze would of course soften, and I would see his aura. I would see the aura around statues. I would see and I didn't know what it was, but I was mesmerized that of watching this. I really wasn't paying attention to what the priest had said, or even understood what was going on. For me to go to confessional was so interesting, because I knew that I was going to marry Jesus Christ. That was like a thing. So when I went to communion, it was like a big thing. And I hear a lot of other young girls at that time going to communion definitely felt like they were going to marry Jesus Christ. But I had such an affinity with Mother Mary and with Jesus both, and with the angels. And I knew they were around me. I did not know or understand what that meant, but I when I look back, I know that they were there and guided me and protected me. I was born, if you will, open, and if you want to call it psychic, fine. My mother was very psychic, and we would have, I understand this now, but I didn't understand it then, but we would telepathically talk to each other. And I don't think she really knew what was going on either, but we would finish each other's sentences. I knew what she was thinking. And now when I look back, it's like, oh yeah, but then it was just a very normal thing, and I didn't understand why other people couldn't do it. One of the things that was really prevalent for me that I've carried through the years is the fact that energetically I could read energy very, very well. So when someone was speaking, and if what they were saying word-wise was not energetically in alignment with them, I would see a mismatch right away. I'd feel a mismatch. And as a young child, I said that they were lying because I didn't understand, but they're lying. I tell my mom they're lying. My mom would go, yeah. But she felt it too. And if she would challenge them on it, they would just blow up. They would get all defensive. And so it's like, whoa. So I learned early on that you do not challenge that with people. You don't call them out on their crap, because they will, who knows what they turn into. But I carried that through all the way now into my adulthood, when someone's speaking, and if they're not quite in alignment with their words, I will pick up on that. But at least now I don't think, oh, they're lying. I just recognize that there is a shift between, almost like a connective shift between them. They're not really in alignment with their higher self. So there's a disconnect. So they start speaking through maybe their things that they've learned, maybe church doctrine, or beliefs, or maybe experiences that they've gone through that they're really filtering through, and I'm just picking up the energy is mismatched. So it has helped me in my career a lot, and I'll kind of explain that later. But as I grew up, I was very protected by my mother, and I know now that she was instrumental because I was so open. She was instrumental in protecting me. She was my earthly protection. There's some things that weren't so great about that, because I was not allowed to actually have relationships where I could learn from people. She protected me from all of that. So there were some dynamics that I didn't learn as a child that when I got older led me into really strange situations, because I just wanted to believe everything that everybody said, because it was all new and fresh, because I hadn't been exposed to any of that. I'd been shielded from it, so to speak. But she took her contractual duties with me very seriously. It wasn't until she actually passed away that my true psychic ability really came to the forefront, and I recognized it. But I did the normal things, went to school. I didn't have a lot of friends, or the friends I did have, because I had this ability that I could tell when they were not being completely truthful or completely honest what was going on. So it was very difficult for me to have connections with people. And I realized that if I did decide to connect with somebody, because what I recognized is when people were around me, they felt very comfortable. And I know you had mentioned something like this. They would feel very comfortable coming to me with their problems, or with what was going on. And I just had this innate ability just to really see the whole picture. And when I would share that with them, sometimes it would be way too much, and they would freak out. And then all of a sudden it would turn on me like, oh my goodness. So I learned how to basically shut my mouth a lot and keep my ears open and just listen. So I am an excellent listener, and I can hear things way beyond what people are saying, which again can be here or there. But I realize that there's a time and a place for me to say something, and if they're not ready for it, I'll know right away. So I got married at some point very early on. And it was in that early relationship where I got pregnant, and I actually had a near-death experience when I gave birth, and that could be like a whole other topic of information. But in that near-death experience, when I came out of it, I did not know that it was a near-death experience. I was not completely familiar about what had happened because it almost seemed like a dream. But what was so real and for me was the feeling that I had, the sensation of being in a place of love. I mean, it was just love. And I talked about it sometimes. It's like a feeling of grace. And that feeling of grace followed me whenever I was at the birth of a child. It's like a portal opens when that soul comes in fully into the physical body, and that it's undeniable, that feeling. And I call it the state of grace. When it comes in, it brings me to my knees because it is so it takes my breath away. It's amazing feeling at a birth of a child, or also the death of someone when they're getting ready to cross over. So when that portal opens up, I am right there with it. And sometimes I even feel like I could cross into it if I needed to. There have been some other times and other experiences where I've actually helped, I'll call them ghosts because people understand the word ghost, but these are people. These are spirits that one, either A, they don't know that they're dead and they haven't crossed over, or they're stuck. They're just plain old stuck, or an aspect of a person. Sometimes if they go through a very traumatic event, there's an aspect of themselves that will split off and they'll stay stuck. So sometimes, you'll hear about people acting like they're a 2-year-old or they're a 5-year-old, and it's a part of them that's actually missing and stuck in a traumatic event. And a lot of times when I work with them and I get them to come back to the person so that their soul is more intact, and then they can finish what they came here to do or to cross over. So if it is someone that's already crossed over and there's a piece of it, just to get them to recognize that and be able and help them to cross over. And it's in that crossover stage where I will again feel it. It's not the same. There is a difference. It's not as intense. It's like work, it's not play. But I will sense that they're there, and I'll know when they have crossed into the light. So after my near-death experience, my life completely went inside out. And meaning I was divorced within 6 months. I had changed jobs within that time. Everything about what I knew to be me completely was inside out. And I was lost. I was really lost. And I had just come to the realization that, okay, fine, I'm just going to be a single mom. I'm just like going to go through life and, hell with everything. I don't care. And then all of a sudden, this man just kind of gently had come into my life, and we ended up getting married. And that shifted me, catapulted me. And it was at this point, because during my near-death experience, I remember very clearly being told that I was to return. And I love making deals. So I remember this deal. Okay, I'll return, but I want to be a mom. There's something about that. I want to be a mom. And if you'll let me be a mom, I'll fulfill my side of the contract. And so, of course, that happened. So being married to this man, I had 2 more children. And when the youngest one reached an appropriate age, I suppose that Spirit thought was appropriate for me to go, okay, I fulfilled that promise to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. And now it was time for me to fulfill my side of the contract. So we had just moved to Oregon, and this is instrumental because we really didn't know anyone here. My family, entire family, lived on the East Coast. Here I am on the, and most of my family, and then of course in California. So then it was, sorry, people keep wishing me anniversary today. So it's popping up on my phone. So it was interesting for me because I had no one, I had no friends, I didn't know anybody, and it was all just me, and we lived on this 10-acre ranch, and it was completely different from my life in California, and it was a turning point for me, a big turning point, because I was isolated again, and I was confused. And to get back to what I thought, okay, maybe it's my spirituality that I really need to look at. And so I went to this church. It was a metaphysical church. I had no idea what that meant. But in this metaphysical church, I had met all these people, and all of a sudden just started learning all about being metaphysical. And that just opened up for me like none other. And I met this gal who was not only a psychic, but she also taught meditation classes. So I went and took a little bit of a meditation class, and she kept telling me that I wasn't in my body, and I had no idea what that meant. Of course I'm in my body. And so she taught me how to get back in my body, which I didn't realize I was out of it until I got back in it and said, oh my gosh. But it was my way of protecting myself from feeling everything that was around. So I didn't have to feel it if I was out of my body. It wasn't as strong and intense. So once back in, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with this. But this gal called me up one day, and she said to me, I was supposed to go to this therapeutic touch class, and I can't make it, and it's already paid for. And so I thought of you, and think you might be interested. It's a great group of women, and we really have a fun time, and it'll be really good for you. And it's like, I have no idea what that is. I'm not into touching people. She said, it's not like that. It's very energetic. It's right up your alley. You'll enjoy it. So I said, okay, I'll go. And if I don't like it, I quit. And she said, okay. So I go to this lady's house, and I'm still friends with her. Interesting enough. But anyway, there was a group of 2 women from Washington, and they were both nurses, and they had come down. And this is very important because this satisfies the left brain on me. 2 nurses that come down. There was some a couple of psychologists, psychiatrists, some social workers, a massage therapist, and a few other people. But they were all getting their continuing education units with this class, and it was in the social worker's house, and they were very welcoming. And we started talking about Reiki. What the hell is Reiki? We started talking about Reiki. So my ears were perked, because these were very, left brain people. These were nurses and psychiatrists or psychologists. And so this was very important to me. So it's like they knew something I didn't know. And so I was very attentive. And then when we did some body work, which again, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I could actually feel the energy moving in my body, which freaked me out, but I could feel it move. And I was hooked after that. I was hooked, because it's like, I want to feel that. I want to know what that is. I want to do more of that. Oh my goodness, I want to help people. Reiki, oh my goodness. Then that led to some Native American drumming and Native American things. And as it kind of evolved, I went to several more of these classes, and the more in depth I went, the more I wanted to know. I was reading books. I was actually eating books. I was reading them so quickly, I could not get enough. But it was satisfying, this deep well of emptiness inside of me that had been empty for so long, and it was filling up, and I was really super excited. And then I asked a question at the very last workshop that we were in. I thought, oh God, this can't end. I want to do this. How do I do this? And they said, well, you could go and if you're going to put your hands on people, you have to have you have to have some type of license. Okay, what kind of license do I need? Like, I think I'm going to go to the city and get, a business license. And they said, no, you have to be like, if you're going to do it, you could do massage therapy. I don't want to do massage therapy. That's like, again, I can do above the body with the energy, but now you're going to want me to touch people. No, I can't do that. So, they said, well, you could be a minister, and then you could touch people and stuff. And so I go home, I'm on the computer, and I found this site where you pay $25 and you can be a minister, and then you are one, and then you can put your hands on people. I thought, this is perfect. So I paid the $25, printed out the little certificate, and I am one. And so my husband said to me, I think you better check into that a little bit more, because I just don't think that that's going to cut it. So I called the Oregon Board of Massage Therapy. And again, I'm going to rationalize with them and have a debate. And I said, well, I've got this certificate, so I'm a minister, so I can put my hands on people. And she said, this is what she said to me, honey, if you touch anybody, you need to have a massage license in the state of Oregon. I said, but I don't want to do massage. I'm not doing massage. I'm just doing some energy work. She said, you're putting your hands on people. I said, so is it okay if I put my hands above people? And she said, if you charge them, then you need to have a license. And it's like, damn it. So I checked into the massage therapy program at the local college, and lo and behold, I did not know that you had to be accepted into the program. I just thought I could take a class, and I am one. And so I had to be accepted in the program. So I talked to my husband and I said, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to enroll. And if I don't like it, I quit. That's simple. And he said, okay. So I got accepted into the program. Little did they know. So here I am, I'm in the program. The first class is an anatomy and physiology class. And I got to tell you, my biology in high school, how I got an A was because I cleaned a lot of test tubes for the instructor. Science was not my thing. I wasn't interested in it at all. Thank God I had an incredible instructor, anatomy physiology instructor, who the first week, the majority of the class got F's on his little pop quiz, including myself. And I thought, okay, I'm going to quit. And so he said, he took responsibility for it and said, it's the way I'm teaching. I must not be teaching in such a way that you're all really ready to learn. So he interviewed all of us, which was really interesting. And then the next week, he completely changed the way he taught the class. And all of a sudden, it was like the light bulbs were dinging off in me, and I began to enjoy it. And so did everyone else in the program as well. So as we went along, I thought, okay, this is something I'm just very, very interested in. But I still was not going to take it to the depth that I thought. I was still just going to do energy work. That's all I wanted to do. But I passed the license through the state board. And then it was like, I have to take this seriously, because I'm doing a disservice to the massage therapy. So I set up a little practice, and again, I was just going to do energy work. And I have to understand, in my small town here in Southern Oregon, it is very Christian oriented. And so therefore, you speak the language, or otherwise, if you start talking about metaphysics, or you start talking about energy or anything of that nature, using that verbiage, the cross comes out, the Bible comes out, and it's a small town, it's a small thing, and my business could just go just like that. So I was very careful, and I learned this, of course, early on in my childhood, of being very careful and watching what you say. So you basically, I shut my mouth. Granted, this ended up with me having some thyroid issues later on, but that was a whole other story. So I'm in this predicament now, and the proverbial, I'm waiting by the phone for it to ring so all my customers can come. Isn't it build it and they will come? So I built it. Now I'm waiting for them all to come. And when he's coming, the phone is not ringing. It was funny. So I was in a salon, and one of the gals there that cuts hair, she started referring her clients to me, and which was really good. It started out slow, and then she went to the chiropractor and she was telling her chiropractor all about me. So all of a sudden the chiropractor started referring people to me, which was great, except I got all of his problems and people that had injuries and people that were sore and stiff, and I had no idea what to do with them. I was not taught this really in school. I was taught how to give a nice fluff and buff massage. So I started digging into the books again. It started fascinating me more on how the body worked and where things led. So my idea of just doing a nice energetic workout led me into medical massage, which, if anybody would have ever said this to me, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have said, oh no, that's not going to happen. That's not me. I built my own medical massage center in Southern Oregon. It was I was the first medical massage therapist in Southern Oregon. Built a center that I had I had a chiropractor, I had a registered nurse, I had several massage therapists, and the business was really flourishing. People were coming to me, and again, they're coming to me with all different kinds of not only physical issues, but I also recognized that it was coupled with what was going on with them emotionally and mentally, which set me in more directions of trying to understand all of this. So I learned about chakras and auras, and it just was a nonstop process of me learning. And at the same time, I thought I was guessing, because I had left didn't understand that whole psychic phenomenon for myself. And so I thought I was guessing with people, and it ended up I was more than accurate. And as time went on, when I would have someone on the table and they would be complaining about maybe a shoulder issue, somehow I knew that it wasn't just shoulder, it was their gallbladder. They were having gallstones, or I somehow would know which questions to ask. And I didn't know how I knew this. It was just flowing out of me. And at one point, as I'm talking to people, we're having a nice little discussion, and I realized my hands were moving without me. They were doing not bad things, but they were, and I'd stop and I was almost like observing what my hands were doing. And I thought, who's moving my hands? What is happening here? And I had someone come in that was a psychic, and she had said to me that I was channeling. And it's like, well, I knew about channeling way, way, way back, but I thought there's no way, I'm not going into a deep trance. I'm not, how is this occurring? But I was actually channeling healers, and they were speaking to me and telling me where to go. I could also see inside the body. So as I was working, I could see the muscle tone. I could see the muscle texture. I could see what else was going on in this body that was disturbing it. And it was like this gigantic puzzle piece, and I was beginning to formulate everything. And I realized, wow, there's more here. And again, I'm diving into this. And that was like, it's 2 decades now, as a medical massage therapist, that I've done this. But there came to a point when I said, okay, you know what? I want to do more than just one-on-one. I feel like I can reach many, many, many more people than one-on-one. If one-on-one was not good for me anymore. And I was at the point where physically I was killing myself, because at one point I was working with over 100 people in a 4-week span of time. And energetically, I was giving more than what I was taking in. So I was really, literally, I was killing myself. So there came a point in time, and COVID, of course, helped that along, because I thought, you know what I want to do? I want to phase out of doing one-on-one and do more, larger groups of people. And the channeling piece was just like niggling at me. It was like poking at me. And I was looking more into it, but the channelers that I was looking at were the ones that kind of gave up their body, and the spirit came in and talked through them. And I thought, I don't want to do that. You know, I just can't give up like that. I just can't give over. I want to be a part of it. You know, I don't mind being teamwork, you know. So I was teaching some classes, mind you, because I was, you know, phasing out of massage into the spiritual piece and what it is that I do. And I love meditation. So I was teaching a meditation class at a local bookstore. And I had a great group of people that would come, you know, every other Saturday, I think we would meet, and it was really great. But again, it wasn't enough for me because it was just like those 10, 15 people. And it's like, I knew I could do more. I could do more. I could do more. But the channeling piece was really there. And there was a gal that came in the class one day, and she had said that she was going to see a channeling class on the coast. And my ears perked up, and I thought, oh, I want to know more about that. And so I talked to her about it after class, and she invited me to go. And I said yes. And that's how I met you. And that was another catalyst in my training, because you opened me up to the world that was a new idea of channeling, and then I channeled all along, and it was nothing any different than what I was doing, and I would just allow it to come through more, which still my left brain was still like, oh, I don't know about this, but I really trusted you. I trusted you. Everything that you had said to me had come through. You know, you had understood the I am teachings. I too had, in my travels and my books that I ate, I had come across the I am teachings, and that really fulfilled that deep spiritual well within me. And so everything that I had experienced before now became very real. It was like, yes, everything that I had done before was not just a fantasy. It wasn't just a child's little make-believe world like other adults had said that was going on. This was real for me. And so when COVID hit, and it was like my business, I literally had to kind of just shut it down. And when that happened, then it was like, okay, now I'm ready to take that next shift. What does that next shift look like? So I'm still in the phase of exploration and allowing that all to come out. And our podcast, of course, gives me the opportunity to not do one-on-one, because I can reach a lot of people this way. I know my channeling is going to really explode soon, and I know you are instrumental in that, so I want to say thank you. And that piece of that spirituality, yeah, because now it is such an integral part of my life that it happens all the time. I mean, I am guided constantly, no matter what. If I ask a question, I will get the answer within a short period of time. I was trying to think, just something just happened the other day. I asked a question, and was like, oh yeah, there's the answer. but I always get the answer. I always get the answer. So I've been aligning myself more and more with that. If there's still a little bit of apprehension, which is good, you know, because I know that you and I had talked about discernment is good. I think discernment is great. There was a part of me, because I think that, you know, Christian, that Catholic upbringing, that, you know, the devil, you know, and all that. And there was always me saying, God, my God, that's what I say, my God would not put children in purgatory. I don't.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Okay, I think we've lost her.
Anyway, hang on. I think I disappeared for a bit. I'm back.
You did. You're sort of back, not totally. The picture isn't back. I see a picture of you, but I don't see you.
That's interesting because I see myself, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, so with that, I am still in a place of learning and growing. I did early on I met a wonderful lady out of Ashland who is a shamanic intercessor. I did this. I think it's crazy when I think about what I did, but it's what I've always spirits led me to do. But I did a vision quest on the mountain in Southern Oregon
Nice.
for 7 days. Yeah, 3 of those 7 days I was on top of the mountain.
Okay, I see your picture, but I can't hear you. Froze. Do you see me? The audio is gone. I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
Okay, how's that?
That's better. So much
Yeah,
better.
for some
Yeah.
reason I got muted. I don't know why. Okay, so anyway, I did this vision quest on top of a mountain in Southern Oregon for 7 days. 7 days, and 3 of which I was on top of the mountain in a 30-foot circle with only 3 gallons of water to drink, and
Wow.
had an incredible experience, spiritual experience. And so, you know, that just is that thirst for that knowledge, that thirst for that experience just always drives me more and more and more. And when I work with people now, I understand when they come to me, they're really looking for assistance. So I can dive in and look at it in a great number of ways, even going into the quantum field and rearranging molecules and energy to assist them in their healing process, whatever it is that they need. So it's been a fascinating journey. It still opens doors more and more and more as it goes on. And I know the channeling piece is really, like I said, gonna open up huge with everything that I know and everything that I've learned and experienced. It's just going to be another pace, another chapter in the saga of, you know, who I am. But when you talk about who I am, I mean, that's me. I mean, I started this when I came in. Nothing's changed. It's just grown, and I've become more aware of it. So that, you know, sometimes at this point it's lonely. I'm glad you're in my life because it's hard to talk to other people about this because they're just so, and I like to say, trapped in their belief systems and trapped in their, you know, what they've been raised in and told. So
yes,
And that's sad for me. That's really sad because there's so much going on and we could do so much. You know, when we talk about the energy, we can have such an effect on the energy around us. So, yeah, I would love to be able for people to be able to experience what I experience and know what it's like, because this really is a beautiful place to live. I always say, if we clear out all the zombies on the planet, people that are just not awake, it's like, wake up! I'm gonna shake you. You know, it's like, but you know, my own kids sometimes are like that. They just don't want it. You know, it's tough. It's not easy.
Yes.
It's not easy when you
It's
decide
not.
to wake up, because it can be, you know, there's some painful moments, you know, that you come to realize that, hey, you know, it's not like I was told, and that's painful. It's very painful, but it's very rewarding in the same amount to be able
Yes.
to, yeah. So the benefits outweigh those painful moments. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with each of these things that you have done, and especially as you work with, like when you did your massage and you work with people and you venture down this path for a little while and you take this detour for a little while, it always brings you back. Do you feel that your connection with the innate part of you, with the spiritual part of you, with your higher self, do you feel like that connection gets stronger and stronger to where sometimes you cannot tell the difference between what you would term your conscious mind and your actual spiritual guides, I call it the higher self?
How best I can explain it is, and I think this stems from my near-death experiences, because it's all consciousness. It's conscious. So I don't feel separate. I know I just don't feel separate. I am part of a collective, and I am that collective. So I don't even look at it as it's my higher self, or I mean, I call them that for lack of a better term to call them in.
Yeah,
But I
understand. Yes.
If I say I am that, I am that. I am. And so there is no separation, except that I'm here doing something in this capacity. That's it. You
Yes.
know, and that's the only separation piece that I can agree with, is that. But I am all that. I am. There's no separation. And yeah.
You're correct. There is no separation. Yes.
Yeah.
There really
if I call in like
never has been.
Yeah. Even if I call in like the angels, if I ask for angels, you know, or if I call, because Archangel Michael and I are buddies, you know, and I say that not as a separate thing, like we're best friends, but almost to the extent of that energetically we are the same. We, you know, there's a meld of that. Okay. There's no distinction, so to speak. But their mission is different in a way. They have a specific mission. It kind of intercepts with mine, kind of thing. So I can call in other people. I can even call in people that are passed over, that have lived human lives here, and ask for assistance. And that melds in. It melds in. It's energetically. It's not there's no separation. I don't know how else to explain it, but I know people think that they're separated. You know, they think that there's some deity out there that is grandiose, better than them, and knows all. And it's like, no, because all you have to do is tap into that and recognize that you are a part of that. So now here's the defining moment that is can be irritating. And I always have like these conversations with them, you have no idea what it's like to be in a body. But I'll say, when you're trying to bring that stuff in, there's a denseness, of course. There's this
Yes.
people call the third dimension, but there is this denseness in the energy that is very slow. So it's like playing your favorite record and playing a record, your favorite song, and you got it on slow speed.
Mhm.
And so everything is very slow. And that's what it's like. Hurry up. Or I can't make that out. It's too garbled. The message is like, there's too much interference. And that's what it's like when it comes down into a slower vibratory mode. And that's the frustrating part. That's the part where I can see people going, oh man, I've had this crap. It's not working. I can understand that because I feel the same way at times. It's like, there's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way. So I have these little conversations with divine consciousness and go, you have no idea, no idea what it's like. You think it's so easy. And then you laugh at me because you think I'm funny. Well, in your mind, yeah, I'm funny. But yeah. So.
And you are correct. We are it. We are that creative consciousness. I always had a problem when I just sort of said, oh, well, but I understand it more now. But, I call on the angels. I call on Saint Germain. I call on my guides. I call on this and that. And when you call upon that, it's almost like you're calling on something separate than yourself, although it is yourself. So one day I was really aggravated because it's like, okay, you tell me that I am all these, and I'm calling on something outside of myself, and there is nothing outside of myself. I don't understand it. And you're calling on the different frequencies of yourself. So if you're calling on Saint Germain, that's a different frequency than what you are living in your human form. But you're calling on that frequency to come forth and to help out, not come from out there somewhere, come from within, but that frequency that is within those cells and molecules and everything that is able to come forth and help in the way that you need help. There is no separation. There is nothing out there. But being raised like in a Baptist, we were always told that there's going to be a rapture. Jesus is going to come and you're going to be taken up in the sky and the angels are out there. We're taught separation. That's what sin is. We're taught sin. We're sinners from the day we're born. It's just separation. That's all it is what we're taught. And that is not true.
No, it's not. And from from my channeling experience is that that was taught to us eons ago so that we could be controlled, because
Yes.
if you live in a state of fear, then the fear, they can control you with the fear. And that's still in today, right. It's very prevalent when you look and see, if you watch any type of newscasts or everything that's happening is there to produce fear. Yes. Fear. And I call it fear porn because it's like, it is, and
it is.
And there's nothing that you don't need to be afraid of. I mean, I can easily say this because I'm not afraid to die. But I think that's mainly because of my near-death experience and what I experienced. And so I have no fear of dying. It's not like I'm running out in front of a train, and go, oh, let's see what happens, or a car, because that's ignorant. But there is a point of learning to live in this environment, learning to live in the human aspect of things, and how you can change it, how you can use the energy. You can call that metaphysical if you'd like, but it's how you can shift it so that it's a better conducive environment. And right now, I think we're at the peak of this with everything that's going on in the planet, on the planet, is that we're getting to that point of recognizing that, you know what, this teaching, if you will, of fear is wrong. It is not correct. And it is convoluted. And again, it's coming through different levels, if you will. I think the best way that I can describe it is ham radios. And if you've ever owned a ham radio and you have to talk on certain channels, and if you get somebody on the same channel, then it's clear. It's kind of like the old cell phones, you know. Can you hear me now? But if that channel is clear, then of course the information coming in is concise. But with ham radio, there's lots of different interference, and it could be just interference from a plane flying by, or other energies going on, and so it's garbled and it's not quite understandable. And so that's kind of what's happening now, is all of that is being lifted away and filtered through. And so now people are beginning to see things and hear things and know things that are like, whoa, what happened here? I mean, we can take case in point with the recent experience of that COVID thing. There's layers and layers of pockets of the truth that's beginning to bubble up, and people are going, wait a second here. And some are getting like, oh, I don't even want to hear that. I don't want to know that. I mean, no, our government couldn't do that. People could do who could do that? But yet it's being shown in many different aspects. For instance, there's I know we've discussed this case before with the mom who thought her 2 children were zombies and they were eliminated. I'll just say it nicely, if there is a way to say it nice. And that has many layers of it. It has religious doctrine that's prevalent in that. It also has metaphysical doctrine that's prevalent in that, because metaphysical is not to be led astray or different than religious doctrine. Doctrine is doctrine. You know, it is a cult. It is a complex way of getting people to believe in just this, so that again we can control you. So my thing is to open the box up and go, okay, let's look at the whole picture of what's going on. Again, discernment. You decide what it is that is right for you, that is bringing you and opening up your spirituality and putting you on the path. You know, how do you feel about this kind of thing? And if it's not right, you're going to know it. So there's that that's coming through, and people are going, oh, how can that happen? How can that be? And it's like, it has been. It's not like it's something new. It's just like now you're being shown it. So my thing every night is, when it gets energetically too much for me, I just always ask, let the truth be known. Let the truth come up and be known, because in that way I'm not specifically saying I want this to happen or that to happen, but if the truth comes up, then maybe people will begin to go, okay, you know what, there's more that's happening than what I'm aware of.
Right. So you touched on the quantum healing, working with the molecules, and do you want to explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. So for me, working in the quantum, energetic, because everything is energy. So if I'm working in the quantum field of energy, energy responds differently. Energy, so if I look at a person or perceive a person as a grid system. That's the best way to do it. And in this grid system, it's similar to the grid system that's on the planet. There's different ley lines, there's different points on the planet, but also we're a part of that. So grid wise, if I look at the grid system and I just scan it as if I'm an X-ray machine, and I scan it, and I'm just looking, I'm perceiving, I'm observing, because everything, if you don't want to manipulate something, you just observe it. Because if you go in thinking I'm going to find this or I'm going to find that, then you'll find it.
That's right.
It'll be the best for you. You'll find it.
That's
But if I
right.
go in as an observer and I'm just observing, and what is it that this system would like me to know? So now I'm working with the system, and the system's going to show me. So the system might present itself maybe as I'm going up and looking at the grid system of this human. Is there a dark space, maybe a dark space in that there's something there where the energy is not quite moving as easily and effortlessly as it could, and so it's creating a slowdown of the energy and what's there. So I might perceive it, as darkness, and that's not meaning that it's not of the light. It's just, it's getting my attention. I'm observing. It's dark, and so then I'll ask, what is it? What is this that is different? What is this? What do you want me to see? And then it'll change. I mean, it might be something so flippin' crazy. Like I might see elephants, elephants stomping the ground. And so it's like, you don't have an elephant in that area of your body that's stomping on you, but there's it's a story, and it's showing me, so to help me perceive what it is. It's the same thing as channeling. When that energy comes down, it's coming through my human filters in my brain, and it's using my vocabulary that's present to assist in the translation of something. So this is the elephant is the translation. So, okay, well, what is the elephant kind of thing? And it's like this big, ever heard of the elephant in the room? See, that comes to my mind. So it might come to somebody different. Might be you would look in and perceive something totally different. But for me, I'm looking at it going, oh, that's the elephant that's in the room. Okay, so to me, that's immediate. Like, okay, here's the core of the issue here. And if I'm wrong in that general download of information, I will get a definite no, that's not it, and it'll be something else. So it'll tell me, it'll go from there. And then it's like a thing of just continually asking questions. What else here? What does it need? And all I am is the conduit, just the conduit to it, to assist it. And if it needs something to remove that energy or to break that energy up, I know different codes because of my quantum healing training, what codes to use to help to break up that energy so that it can be dispersed. The rest of the body can pick it up and deal with it. But sometimes when it gets too packed in, that's where tumors come from and all kinds of things, because the energy is so dense. So it's not me healing anybody. It's not me doing anything. It's just, I'm just observing. And then I report back what I observed. And interesting enough, see, because I'm speaking what I observed, the energy that has been translated, it doesn't matter what the words are or the description of the words. It is how that energy is received by the person. And then they will say things like, oh, that makes so much sense to me because blah, 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 blah. And then I know that the information has been transferred and received. And I hope that doesn't sound bizarre, but energy is energy. I mean, we use words, we use sound to communicate. So it's not just so much the words I use, but the energy behind the words. So a lot of times, even when I'm channeling, if I say something and it's not quite the correct word, it does not can hold the energy behind it, I will immediately, okay, let me find a better word for that, and then I'll search in my own vocabulary, if you will, in my own brain cells, to pick up the word that best describes the energy that's coming through. Does that make sense? That's a long description for quantum healing,
because
but that's my experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Every letter, every number, every sound, it has its own vibration. It has its own frequency. It has its own tone. Everything that's behind it, its own energy behind it. So yes, that's thank you.
You're welcome. That's why right now too, with all the redefinition of words, you know, what's the definition of woman? What's the definition of man? It's all being kind of garbled, and now you understand why. It's like, where are they coming up with some of these things? But yeah, it's a deterioration of breaking all of that down, and now it's causing people to define it for themselves. What is a woman? You know, you might define it differently. I might define it differently, and that's okay. But so there's something going on in the background that is causing this to happen, so that we can redefine and we can understand and have more of a conscious understanding when someone says, I'm a woman. My God, Phyllis, I had a hysterectomy. Does that mean I'm not a woman anymore? You know, because somebody will define a woman as having, you know, biological parts so that they could, you know, procreate. It's like, well, I don't have those parts anymore. What does that mean for me? Am I not a woman anymore? Makes you think. What am I? So it makes me have to define myself. So when you say to me, you know, what is your spiritual journey? When did that start? It's like, you know, it is what it is. I am what I am. Here I am. But I always, you know, I can tell a funny story. I know we've really gone a long time, but the stories, it kind of brings it home. But, you know, I grew up in a time in the 60s. So I went through where, you know, they were doing the busing and all of that. And I remember that very vividly, even though I was, you know, very, very small, kindergarten, first grade kind of thing. And, but yes, my parents were very, very hostile. But so I grew up around that, but that was part of the time. I mean, there was such a distinction between races. I mean, even when my grandparents came, over on the boat and hit Ellis Island, and there they were in New York. Neighborhoods were positioned for there was the Italian neighborhood, there was the Jewish neighborhood, there was the, you know, these were all neighborhoods. They all fought together, you know, and so they had their own, all of it. They had their own food, their own laundry, their own everything. So nothing was like this melting pot. That didn't happen. And so I grew up in that and understanding that, but it was never a part of me because I didn't like it. It had, if you will, a bad taste in my mouth. It was not because I had friends that were of different color. I mean, I remember when I had this friend who had long hair. Oh my God! And it was a guy, and my dad thought that, you know, I'm hanging around with the hippies. So there was always these categories, and it was like, it was none of that. So I wanted to raise my children free and clear of that. I didn't want that to be a part for them. And if my parents or other family members would bring that up, my kids would look at me like, oh, that was foreign topic, foreign conversation. And so later on, I could explain that to them so that they would understand. And so here we are, we're in the grocery store, and my middle daughter, who about that time probably was maybe 15, 16 months old, and she's sitting in the front of the cart, and I'm grocery shopping, and I happened to glance back over at her, and she had her arm, and she was licking her arm like this. And I said, what are you doing? And she just kept licking her arm, and then she would look off to the side and go back and lick her arm. And so I looked to where she was looking, And lo and behold, was a very tall, dark-skinned man in the aisle. And I thought, oh, she's recognizing that her skin.
Well, we just lost
Trying to
audio.
break it up. She could get underneath the white skin and find some dark skin. and so I said to her, oh, I said, did you notice his skin is different? And she said yes. And so I thought, I succeeded. I succeeded. I was excited. It's like, yeah, you know, but here's the thing. This example is, if we peel off our skin, what's underneath? It's not black, it's not white, it's not brown. It is just muscle and organ and blood, and that's a covering. Well, that's the same with dark eyes, blue eyes, you know.
That's right.
Dark hair. It just is. It just is.
It is. Yeah.
There is none.
Yeah.
I mean, that just should not separate us. It puts us in maybe a category of different understanding as far as hereditary and where we came from and our experiences. But then all of that is part of who we are anyway, is all our experiences here. It's who we are as souls, our experiences. And so if we are one collective consciousness, then we are part of what they experienced, and they're a part of what we experience. So energetically, it's like we're all the same. Anyway, I've gotten off my high horse in my soapbox. So sorry, but it was such a defining moment for me when she did that. It was like, whoa, well, I succeeded.
Yes.
You know, teaching her something, if nothing else. Taught her right.
The wisdom of a baby, though. You know, the innocence. You know, it is so neat to see the world through a child's eyes. You know, before they're taught. You know, the separation and whatever.
Yeah. Unblemished. Yeah.
This has been wonderful. So, can you sort of give us an idea on, if people wanted to get a hold of you, what you offer, what what they could ask for, what kind of services you offer?
That's a great question. So I don't necessarily have a name for it, except, you know, quantum healing is, you know, is part of everything. But I use tarot only because people are familiar with tarot, but tarot is just like an instrument for me. It's not the end all kind of thing. So energetically, what I do is, no matter what it is that's going on, I don't care if it's an emotional issue, if it's a mental, I guess it'd be okay, physical, spiritual. If you're recognizing a pattern, let's just say that you cannot get ahead of, you cannot break. Most definitely energetically, I can assist in helping you with the pattern. Because I can go in and see the energy, talk to the energy, get an idea with your personal guides and teachers, what's going on, whether it's something that's just in your genetic makeup that is come up to be energetically shifted, and that's why you're having some issues, because there's not who out there can do that kind of stuff. But give you the tools that you need so that you can understand what's happening, and in that understanding shifts the energy, and then also shifts what's happening, and then to also assist you in, where do you go from here? How do you move now into a new dynamic and into a new energy system? So it's really fun and it's fascinating, and I'll tell you, when people figure it out, it is this big light bulb that comes on, and it's fun. It's really fun to watch people just move past these things that have maybe plagued them for not only this lifetime, but many lifetimes before. So that's what I can do for people. I actually
Okay.
see where it needs to shift, I guess is a good explanation.
Well, I think right now, especially coming out of the where we were by ourselves for quite a period of time, and there was a lot of soul searching and a lot of changing and energy shifting. So we had to shift also. I think there's a lot of everything in progress right now. It's not, nothing is defined. It's like, okay, I can do this, but it's not going to look like it used to be, or maybe I used to do this and I'm not really wanting to do that anymore. Like maybe with your massage and my contact reflex analysis, it's like, no, that's not where I want to go with this anymore. Been there, done that. It was good. I can still do it, but that's not where my path is leading now. So I think that, we're both in that process right now, in the process of finding, but yet while we're finding, we're also able to, I like to think we can meet people where they are and just automatically know how to help. And we don't have to say, I do this, I do that, I do something else. We both, and a lot of people out there, they know, they meet people, people come to them, and if you're open and you listen and you connect, you know how to help, you know how to guide them too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. See, a lot of things have changed. In fact, as I was on my journey, and people would say, "Oh, you're psychic," or "You're," and I'd say, "No, I'm not psychic." It was like, that word was like a dirty word. Don't tell me I'm psychic.
Yep.
I'm not even channeling. It's like, don't tell me I channel. I don't want to channel. Call it something else, but that's not what I do. And
Right.
it's really
Right.
what I've come to understand is because it's not the same, because that's old school. That's old
Right.
school, and it helps people then, and it had, just like massage, you talk about a masseuse, that's completely different than a massage therapist, but it had its moments to where a masseuse was one that gave happy endings. Well, to rise above that constant facade of that, and let people know, listen, I'm touching people, yes I am, but I'm doing it in such a way as I'm gaining their permission, and I'm not touching them in such a way that's going to cause any trauma to them. But because a lot of people won't do massage because of that. Oh, you got to touch me? I mean, gosh, I understood what that is. So to me, psychic is the same thing. How do you know if a psychic is good or not? And it's like, oh, there's a lot out there that just read body and body language and all of that, and good guessers and what have you. And it's like, I don't want to be in that category. I don't want to be with that, because what I do is so different, and I honor it. I mean, I honor it. Yeah, I'm humbled with it. And so, and then people that charge, I mean, an incredible amount of money, it's like, well, who are you helping? Just the rich and famous? I mean, what about, the small guy over here that can't afford that kind of stuff, that needs help? Is that a point that could make a big difference? I just, like, infuriates me. So, I mean, I do charge, but that's because there has to be some amount of value that's passed back and forth, or else it's just, you're just sucking my energy.
Of energy.
Yes. Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, give me a chicken, or bring me some eggs. I love such things. So yeah, you're right. It is old school. It's old school, and we're just in the midst of turning this. So who knows what I don't know what it's called. I don't know what to call it. I know you don't know that either, but
no.
Maybe somebody out there will come across a good explanation of it and help us with it, because I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, quantum spiritual something. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between, what we do and, like you were talking about, the psychic. When I would go and I would try to have a session, and then they would start asking me questions, and then they would go on my answers, and it's like, you're not knowing anything. I'm telling you all the things I want to know. So it's like, no, that there is a huge difference. You were saying, how do you know the ones that are really there, truthful to help and can help, and how do you know the ones that can't? And to me, if I go to one and they start asking me questions, um, just to feed back to me, no, I, mm-mm. It's, but it's like what you have said before. I'm also not very easy to read. I think that sometimes, it's a blessing in a way, and in a way it can be really frustrating when you really truly do need help, and you need to be step out of what you're in, and it's difficult to step back and see the whole picture, and you need somebody to help. Then it's very difficult to find somebody, because they're not there. They don't operate on that wavelength. And so I'm here to say Donna does. I know.
Yeah. And I'll be
Yes,
honest enough
sure
to say
does.
when I don't, it's like, oh, I don't know about this, but we'll dig in. There's been times you've asked me a couple things and it's like my immediate is nothing. I mean, it's blank. And so it's like, okay, we need to, dig in a little bit more. So, and I'll ask you what you think, because sometimes it's like you're the one, not you all the time, but just in general, when I'm talking to somebody, is they're the ones that are actually blocking it. And
Yes.
so they're blocking it from
Yes.
me as well, too. So it's like, okay,
Yes.
so if I just get them to talk about it, we'll talk around it and kind of peel around the layers. And then all of a sudden something might siphon through. And it's when that siphons through, it's like I hear it very loud and clear. And so I'll just ask to go in. Let's dig into that a little more. What do you mean by that? And so then all of a sudden it's like digging in, and then it just starts surfacing. And it's so fascinating to me, to play with it, because I feel like I'm playing, and that it'll siphon through. And then all of a sudden there's just this, and sometimes it's like the person will say to you, oh, I think I got it. I think I understand. It's like,
yes.
pretty clear.
And that's what we are. We're just here to help guide. We're just here to help them find the answers. To help them to heal themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to leave us with?
Oh gosh, we've talked about so many different things today. No, I really sounds kind of funny, but I would really just like for people to tell us what they would like to know more of, that because I can pretty much go anywhere.
And
so
I can too.
Yeah. So just let us know what more you'd like to know about. And then, we'll dive in and see what we discover. I'm not afraid. And Stephen, want to talk about the devil and Satan and all that kind of silliness? We can dive into that too. Yeah. And if the ETs are friendly, if they're not, if they're trying to, I'll dig into that too as well too. So there's not too much I'm uncomfortable with. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
All right. I always enjoy our chats. They're always make me feel better.
I do too.
Energetically,
too.
Better. So, and I want to thank whatever consciousness is here today that helped us, and even all the crazy internet problems we had, and
Yeah, the technical
I managed
problems,
through
yes.
them, whatever. But yeah, and hopefully just talking about this and bringing it out will help energetically change everything else that's going on. So I hope everyone got something out of it. If so, please, hey,
Yes.
like, leave a comment and let us know what more you want to hear about. And nothing's off
And
topic after
subscribe.
that. Yes, that too. That
So you
too.
can keep up with
Yeah.
you can keep up with us. Yes.
Yes, sounds good. All right. Thank you, Phyllis.
All
Always a
right.
pleasure.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Donna.
Enjoy your day. Love you much.
You too.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Love you.